Allie.
And Jesse. And this is Design for Adventure.
We're a married couple figuring out family travel, Disney trips, running races, parenting,
And how to make adventures actually work in real life.
Yes, we travel with our kids.
And still manage to have a good time.
And if you love making memories and want an adventure that fits real life, you're in the right place.
Welcome to another episode of Design for Adventure, one in which we're going to talk once again about my favorite topic, Disney. I just love Disney. And tonight is the first round of the NFL draft, but I am super excited to be here instead of watching the draft to talk about how we schedule Disney hotels.
It really shows that you love me.
Indeed. All right, so how do you plan for your hotels?
All right, so we talked at length in the past about what time of year to go, other things to maybe consider about how long you want to go. Next, we're going to talk about probably your biggest cost next to park tickets. This is going to be the majority of what you're paying, and that's going to be hotels. There really isn't a wrong answer on where to stay, especially on Disney property. It really just depends on your budgets, what you need from the hotel, what you want out of it as well, and your family logistics. So that can really affect whether you're going to be staying at All Star Sports or if you're going to be staying at the Contemporary.
So I see here differences between staying on property or off property. If you're off property, is that a standard, Motel 6 or Hilton or whatever? So
there are a lot of off-property hotels, anywhere from the Four Seasons, where you're going to be paying $2,000 a room a night, or you can stay at a Motel 6 that's down the road, where you're going to probably find $60 rooms, but maybe some bed bugs.
Worth the risk.
I personally would like to check out the Four Seasons.
I bet you would. I'm surprised you haven't by now.
If you have a car, and maybe if you do need that Airbnb because you have a very large party, or maybe you want to do some other things that aren't Disney in Orlando, because there are a lot of other options out there. There's Universal, for example. There's other parks like Legoland. Peppa Pig has a park. There's SeaWorld. There's so much more to do than just Disney in Orlando. So if you are one of those families who's going to be doing that, then maybe off-property makes sense. But some of the things you have to consider if you're not staying on Disney property are parking fees. So I think it's $35 a car right now a day at the parks. That adds up if you're coming a couple times. The drive time and traffic is terrible. So wherever you're staying, you have to account for traffic, and that's going to account for a longer drive in versus if you can just hop on a bus in Disney. Another thing is lightning lanes, and we'll talk about this later, but one of the perks of staying on property is you get to book them 7 days out. When you're staying off property, you only are able to book them 3 days out for the length of your ticket. So that can, during the busy season, kind of affect what rides you may be able to ride when it comes to lightning lanes. You can still ride them and stand in standby, but if you want to use lightning lanes and purchase that and use that perk, that may affect which ones you can actually get.
So what are the types of hotels that you look at?
There are 21 different resorts on Disney property. And Disney has 3 different styles. They have value, moderate, and deluxe. So we'll start with value. They're your large, over-the-top theming. So when you think a Disney hotel, you're probably picturing a value resort. They have 4-story Dalmatian dogs from 101 Dalmatians. They have the Coca-Cola cup with a straw that's like 4 stories tall that are the stairs to go up. They're huge. They're motel style rooms. So they're outside doors, no window on the inside. There's no balcony, but kids love them because they're just over the top theming. There's just a lot of big areas for kids to play in. Pools. They're great if you just need a bed, but still want to stay on property. 2 of the value resorts have family suites, Art of Animation and All Stars. So if you have a larger family or you need that bedroom, that would be a good option because they're going to be at a lower price point than your moderate or your deluxe.
Okay, so what are some of the price ranges of these value resorts?
So of the 5 resorts, we'll start with Pop Century. So Pop Century, you're going to start out probably in the low 200s, and this is because it's on the Skyliner, so you're going to be paying for that access to the Skyliner, to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. Next is going to be Art of Animation, which is actually right across from Pop Century. It was technically supposed to be part of it, but then 2008 happened and that got scrapped, and eventually they came up with Art of Animation. Art of Animation is going to be, again, in the 200s, but then it's going to go up into the 600s once you get into the family suites. And that is what the majority of the rooms are at Art of Animation, are the $600 rooms. And the suites are going to be themed as Cars, Finding Nemo, and Lion King. So if your kid is into one of those three movies, this is an awesome resort.
Well, I want to know about All-Star Sports. What does that consist of? Is there a tribute to my favorite sports athletes there?
So I wouldn't say tributes, but it's definitely sports themed. So you have larger than life football. You have a football field, I think, in the middle of the area. This is actually going to be your cheapest hotel on property for value. This is where a lot of the cheer groups stay when the cheer competitions or dance teams are coming in for competitions. So it can get loud, especially in the springtime, so be aware. But if your kids are into sports or you have sports lovers, All-Star Sports is a big thing. And this is going to be your cheapest room. This is a room right now in the summer, and you can get it for $100 a night with certain deals.
Is there a track I could run on?
I don't remember. We stayed here back when I was like 5 years old. So I just have a picture of me in front of this giant Coca-Cola cup, loving it.
So is this where we're staying when we go in January?
No.
Oh.
There are two other All-Star resorts. There's music and movies. They're all connected, but they are technically their own resorts. They each have their own cafeteria and their own pool, and they have their own distinct theme. It's like All-Stars music, and then you have the movies where Toy Story is, and then All-Star Sports. So those are the 5 resorts. They're going to be your cheapest, all family friendly, all have great pools, but the pools are just pools. There's no slides, there's no splash pads, except at Art of Animation, which does have a Finding Nemo themed splash pad, but they're all just basic pools, but they're big, large. Families love them, kids love the theming. If this is your budget, you're still going to have a great time. And as I said, all of them are going to have bus transportation to all the parks, except for Pop Century and Art of Animation. They are on the Skyliner, and you will have access then to the Skyliner to get the Epcot and Hollywood Studios, which is why they're going to be a little bit more than the All-Star resorts.
All right, so what about the moderate variety of hotels?
So these are going to be a little bit nicer. There's 4 of them on Disney property. Now, your moderates are going to have more dining options, so not just a cafeteria quick service style, but usually some kind of sit-down restaurant as well. Then there's probably going to be more transportation options. Not always, but sometimes. The rooms are bigger. Not crazy bigger, but bigger, and you can feel it. And then all of the pools have water slides. So there's just more amenities too to them. Each one's going to have a different one, but they do have more. I'll talk about the Port Orleans ones first. They're Port Orleans French Quarter, and that's going to start in about your mid-30s, and then Port Orleans Riverside, same thing, mid-30s. Your French Quarter is going to be your smaller of those two. They're it's a pretty compact resort. And then Riverside's a lot bigger. It's known for being big. I've stayed there. I don't remember it being a problem, but it's been 15 years since I stayed there. I thought it was beautiful, though. There's a lot of trees, and that's more of your southern style, the Riverside. And then your French Quarter is going to be your New Orleans themed. That's where you can get the Mickey beignets.
Cool.
Those two have boat transportation to Disney Springs as well, but it's going to be bus transportation to all the other parks. Then your other one is going to be Coronado Springs and Gran Destino Tower. This one's going to start in the 300s. Again, especially if you're staying in the village. If you want to stay in the tower, you're going to probably be in the 400s for the tower. And then there are suites here, but you're looking over $1,000 for any kind of 1 bedroom or above. There is also a club level here, if that's something you're interested in. The club level is only going to be in the tower. And again, you're looking at like 600 to like 800 and going up from there.
Good golly. All right.
Well, there's one more.
No more. Oh my.
There's the Caribbean Beach. This one is also on the Skyliner. It's going to start in your 300s, and you guessed it, it's Caribbean Beach themed. It's a very large resort. I have stayed here. All I remember was being so big. I told my mom, I'm like, we're not staying here again. This was back when they still had the Pirates Room. I barely fit on that bed. I'm really glad they changed it. But it's a nice resort, and because it's on the Skyliner now, there's a lot more draw to stay here. but it is a very large resort, has multiple bus stops within the resort before you even get to the parks. So that's something to keep in mind. But Epcot and Hollywood Studios are accessible by the Skyliner.
Alrighty, let's hear about these deluxe hotels.
Deluxe are my favorite.
Oh, I bet.
So these are going to be a lot more subtle when it comes to Disney theming. It's not like in your face IP. It's much more.
What's IP mean?
Intellectual property. So the Disney IP.
Gotcha.
So it's not like a giant, 3-story Ursula, like at the Art of Animation, Little Mermaid rooms. You're going to have hints of Mickey here and there. You might see Mary Poppins and Grand Floridian. Oh, like, they're subtle though. It's not like in your face. You have to kind of almost search to find the Mickeys and the other Disney characters, which I like. So I can escape some of that Disney theming from the parks when I get back to the resort. So for your deluxe resorts, there's 8 of them. There are more, but I'll talk about those in a minute. They're larger rooms. Monorail resorts or walking to Epcot are 2 of the big perks when you're staying at a deluxe, because there's many around that area. They have extra magic hours, so you get to stay in the park 2 extra hours at the end of the day on usually Mondays and Wednesdays at Epcot and Magic Kingdom. Sometimes it's at Hollywood Studios or at Animal Kingdom, just depends on the schedule. And they have balconies. So it's not motel style anymore. It's the actual hotel room where you go in and you have a balcony on the backside. I really like the balcony, especially really nice with kids when trying to put them to bed. I can sit on the balcony while they fall asleep. And they all have suites. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, the 3 bedroom grand villas. There's cabins as well as some of the resorts too.
All right, as hesitant as I am to ask this, how expensive are these places?
This is where I was like hesitant to even have you come on this episode, because I don't know if I want you to know the prices of these rooms.
Well, I have a good idea because I see our bank account and how thousands, if not, or hundreds of dollars are flooding into Disney every month.
So I'm going to start with the deluxe resorts that are on the monorail around Magic Kingdom. We'll start with the big one, which is the Grand Floridian. Those rooms are going to start at $900.
Good golly.
And that's your standard studio. The Polynesian is the next one, next to Grand Floridian, actually. It also starts about $900. This probably is my favorite of the 3 around the monorail. We have stayed here, and it was wonderful. The kids loved the Moana and Lilo and Stitch theming that were going on there. The pool is top-notch. They have a splash pad that my son and daughter were just obsessed with. Really, really love the Polynesian. It's busy, but I think it's worth the hype after staying there. And the access to the monorail is fantastic. You can get on at the TCC, so you can get the express to Magic Kingdom or just take the monorail straight to Epcot without transferring. And then the third one on the loop is going to be the Contemporary. This is going to start between $750 to $900 for your standard studio in the A-frame or even the garden wing, which is to the side, and you can find some cheaper rooms there. This one has the incredible themed room, so if you have a son or even a daughter, but it's sometimes harder to find theming for boys, Contemporary might be where you go. And this is the quintessential. The monorail goes through the middle of the resort. It's a lot of fun. My son and daughter loved that monorail going through the building. One other thing about the Contemporary that is fantastic is the fact that you can actually walk to Magic Kingdom from the Contemporary. So if you have littles, you have strollers, a double stroller like we had, being able to walk from Magic Kingdom to the Contemporary without having to fold it, without having to rely on any other kind of transportation, especially in the middle of the afternoon when you're trying to get back for a nap, was fantastic. That 10-minute walk between Magic Kingdom and Contemporary was worth every penny we spent to stay at the Contemporary, especially if you have young children who you need to get back to the hotel room to nap for. The next resort is Wilderness Lodge. This one is not on the monorail, but it's technically a Magic Kingdom resort because it has boat access. So Wilderness Lodge is going to start you about $650 a night. This one is like a Pacific Northwest themed. They took an inspiration from the national park lodges, I think Yellowstone and Yosemite, and that's where they made these beautiful...
Is it like Old Faithful Lodge?
I think so. It's super giant totem poles are inside that are hand carved.
Totem poles?
That's what they're
like the Native American?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's not in Yellowstone.
But... No, so they didn't like copy straight from Old Faithful, but they took like inspiration. So when you see it, you're like, this is what you can tell that's where they took the inspiration, but they incorporated other Pacific Northwest into it.
Because that Old Faithful Lodge is pretty incredible. Like the basketball court that they have there, it's amazing.
I don't know, but now I really want to show you pictures and see if you would like this.
Check that out.
Interesting. I didn't think you would like Wilderness Lodge, but now I have different thoughts.
I mean, I used to work in Yellowstone. Why wouldn't I?
I don't know. I feel like I was there once and we were on a video call and you were like, oh, that's lame that they would copy that.
Was I?
Yes.
I don't know. That's just kind of my general attitude toward Disney. I apologize. But I don't know. I'd rather, if I had to choose, I would rather go to the real Old Faithful Lodge in Yellowstone.
I agree, but I think there's also, they do a good job. Also, maybe we might be changing the hotels. Okay. Right. That's Wilderness Lodge. Now I'm going to point out, I haven't talked about Fort Wilderness, which is not connected to Wilderness Lodge, but it is in that area. They also have a boat to the Magic Kingdom. Now, they're not considered a deluxe resort unless you're staying in the cabins. And so they do have 1-bedroom cabins there. We've stayed there for Marathon Weekend once. With 4 women, it was great. We had plenty of space. It is a big resort, again, internal bus loop before you get out. But they also have campsites, so RV sites and tent camping. So if that's something you are interested in, if you have an RV, that would actually be a great way to stay at Disney, a lot cheaper. And you have your own RV. You can actually rent RVs as well. There are companies that will drop them off at your campsite and then you can stay in them. And then tent camping, I'll never do it in the summer, but that is an option and the rates are pretty cheap. My parents did it back before I was born because that was the only way they could afford to go to Disney. I'll have to ask them more about that experience, to be honest. And then to my favorite area with my favorite hotel, the Epcot and Hollywood Studio resorts. So there are 3: Yacht Club, Beach Club, and Boardwalk. The Yacht Club is going to be about $700 a night. It's nautical themed, so it's more your deeper woods, dark blues, golds. You feel like you're on a ship, more vibe. And then you have it's the sister resort, the Beach Club, which is about $700 a night as well. That's going to be your more airy, your Cape Cod, beachy feeling, light pastel colors. And these are the 2 hotels that have Stormalong Bay pool. So if you've ever seen pictures of a pool, it's probably this one. They have the lazy river. They have the sand bottom pool. They have a massive pirate slide. I've been there for the pool in the summer and it was awesome. I stayed in that lazy river probably for 2 hours, just floating around in a circle. It is 8 feet deep. Beware, you do need something to float on, but it was a lot of fun. Highly recommend Yacht Club and Beach Club. And then my favorite resort of all time is Boardwalk. This one is across the lake from Yacht Club and Beach Club. It's styled in a 1920s Atlanta boardwalk. So it has nightlife. They have performers on the boardwalk at night. They have bars and restaurants. They have a deli. They have Cake Bake is there, that new Cake Bake shop. This was where the Dueling Pianos bar was, but it's gone. It breaks my soul. And then they have the big green in the back of the boardwalk where they'll do movies and games. It's a lot of fun. When we stayed there with my son the first time we went to Disney, we actually had a room that overlooked the green and we could watch the movies at night, which was really fun from our balcony. So Boardwalk is probably my favorite. I've stayed at this hotel the most. I do very much enjoy that hotel. The biggest thing about these 3 is that you are in walking distance to not only Epcot, but Hollywood Studios. So you are 5 minutes away from Epcot, from the International Gate. So you have a back gate that's much calmer than the front. It puts you right by Remy's, so you can rope drop Remy's if that's something you're interested in. It's just calmer in the morning. And then you can also walk to Hollywood Studios, which it's probably like a 10 to 15 minute walk, depending on where you stay. Beach Club's probably the farthest. Boardwalk's going to be the closest, but it's not that bad. Or you can just take the boat, which is what we usually did. Or the Skyliner, but I think the Skyliner takes too long because you have to get off and get on a new one at the Caribbean beach. The boat's just the better way to go. And the last one I'll talk about that's in this area is going to be the Riviera Resort. So this one's going to probably be starting upwards in the upper 600s per night for a studio. They do have duo studios. It's a room for just 2 people and they're a lot smaller. It's a tower resort. It's not spread out like some other ones are. So there's only one bus stop. It's smaller. I've never stayed there. I've only passed through this. This is one of the resorts I really have never explored. But this is where Topolino's is, which is that really good restaurant at the very top.
So you're saying that all these hotels start at like $600, $700, $900. So that's like getting it cheap. So
no. You can pay more for different views, like firework views or a preferred room that's closer to the lobby.
Okay.
So they do start there, but that's where they start before any kind of discount or deal. So take 20 to 30% off. And
wait, why they just hand out a 30% discount?
Yes.
Why? Because they know it's ridiculously overpriced?
They try and fill rooms. I don't know why they do promos like that, but they do.
All right.
There's one last resort, which is Animal Kingdom Lodge. So this one is going to be ranging between $500 and $8 per night. And it varies because if you're on the resort side, it's going to be $500. On the Savannah side, it's $800. This is a resort that has the Savannah, the animals, right outside your room. So if you're on a Savannah view, you're overlooking a Savannah with animals. So zebras, giraffes, other types of animals are out there. And that's where they live. So you will see the giraffes out there walking around, grazing, and doing all of that. Animal Kingdom Lodge has great pools and splash pads. It's kind of in 2 different areas. They have Kidani and then they have Jambo House. And both of them have their own pool. There are 2 bus stops since you have to go one and the other. And they're very spread out, so you can be quite far away from the lobby. But this is like a dream to stay here on the Savannah, to be able to wake up in the morning, drink your coffee, and watching the giraffes eating leaves right outside your window. You're like looking at me like I'm crazy, but it's a thing.
We have fed giraffes at multiple zoos, and I mean that experience was good enough for me.
You don't want to see? I thought you would actually really like this lodge, so it surprises me.
No, like I said, I mean, I don't need to wake up to giraffes right outside my window. I mean, I've fed them at zoos. I held our son as he fed one a piece of lettuce. So back to the discounts they give. I guess talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so I mentioned there are 21 resorts. We still haven't covered all of them. I know you're looking at me like that's crazy, but There's, like I said, there's a lot of them. So the deluxe, most of them technically have a 4th, it's kind of like a 4th tier in here, and that's DVC or Disney Vacation Club. So there's 13 deluxe villa resorts. They're almost at all the deluxe resorts except Yacht Club. These rooms have kitchens or kitchenettes in them. So if you get a 1 bedroom or bigger, they're going to have a full kitchen, fully stocked. They have pots, pans, everything you need, a dishwasher, full fridge, freezer, stove. Your kitchenettes are going to be a little smaller, which is like a fridge and freezer and a sink and microwave. I think there's a toaster in there too. But the rooms are a lot bigger. They have like a sitting area that then has a Murphy bed that folds down, but you get that sitting area versus just 2 beds like a standard hotel room. And the biggest way that I stay here, and the only way I stay in these resorts, is because I rent points from a third-party company or a person. That makes these rooms, when you rent points from someone, usually prices them closer to a moderate than the actual rack rate that you would be paying from Disney. So instead of paying $900 a night for the Polynesian, I was paying $300 a night.
Yeah, that's a nice deal.
Yeah, so it's a lot bigger. And the biggest thing that I love is the balcony. So I'm willing to pay a little bit more for the balcony just because we need it to put our kids to bed when I have 2 of them. It just really helps. And then you get that kitchen or kitchenette, which really helps. You can buy a little bit more food. So you can not spend as much food in the parks because you can eat breakfast in your hotel room, or you can bring all your snacks with you. So I'm not buying breakfast, I'm not buying snacks, I'm strictly buying just lunch and dinner. And then sometimes you can bring, because we have the fridge and the microwave, I can bring leftovers back with me and heat them up. And we have done that before. So it helps save money in the long run. And this also is the only way I would ever rent a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or 3 bedroom, because by renting points, I mean, it's like $3,000 for a 1 bedroom, but I'm going to pay like $600. And when you split that with another person, it makes a lot more sense. So does that make you feel a bit better when I say I've stayed in the Polynesian and the Contemporary and Boardwalk?
No. Because I see more on the list coming right up.
So let's talk about the specific deluxe villa resorts. So most of them are the same, but their prices do vary because you get the bigger room and the kitchen. So at the Monorail, the Grand Floridian, again, is going to be about $1,000 a night when they start out. Polynesian, $900. The Polynesian Tower, which is that new tower next to the Polynesian and Grand Floridian, it's about $950. And then the Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary is about $1,000 a night. And that's where I stayed when I stayed at the Contemporary, and it was even closer to Magic Kingdom. And it was fantastic. We were actually upgraded to a theme park view and could watch fireworks from our balcony every night, and it was wonderful. Then the other two Magic Kingdom resorts are going to be Boulder Ridge and Copper Creek, which is at Wilderness Lodge. And that's going to be starting in the 700s. And then the cabins, which I briefly mentioned at Fort Wilderness, is going to start about $600. And those cabins are 1 bedroom. They have bunk beds, so they do sleep 6, which is nice for larger families. So you have a main bed and bunk beds in one room, and then you have a pull-down Murphy out in the living room, so you can fit bigger families there. And then the Epcot and Hollywood studio rooms, so Beach Club, Boardwalk, and Riviera, all are deluxe villa resorts. Beach Club and Boardwalk are both going to be about the 800s. Riviera is going to start in the 600s for those deluxe rooms. And then Animal Kingdom, I mentioned, has 2 different lodges. They have Kadini?
I don't know. I'm not the Disney fan.
Kadini and...
I say Kadani.
Kadani and Jambo House. Kadani's about 600 and Jambo House about 700. I'm surprised because Kadani's being refurbished right now, so they're getting brand new rooms. So I wonder if that 600 is going to go up and be closer to the Jambo. That tends to happen when they do a refurbishment. It tends to go up for a year or two before they start another one. And the last 2, I didn't really mention them because they are technically strictly Disney Vacation Club resorts, are the original, the Old Key West, and Saratoga Springs. So Old Key West is going to be about $600 a night, and Saratoga is about $600 as well. And these are the ones that have the tree houses that are like a 2-bedroom room that's like built into the trees. It's really cool. It's elevated up. You have to take stairs up to them. It's in a circle. They're about $1,600 a night.
Good golly.
They're a lot cheaper if you rent points. But because it's 2 bedrooms and it sleeps 9 people, I think, if you actually have a large party of adults going where you can split that, it kind of makes more sense because it starts becoming cheaper per night when you can split those bigger rooms.
And you're definitely paying for the experience. That sounds kind of cool.
Actually, it's really cool. My mother's dying to stay here, but I'm always like, we have to have like 8 adults to stay to make it worth it. So it is a dream. One day we'll get there. But Old Key West and Saratoga are both very large resorts. They were the first resorts built, and they were definitely built in more of a resort style where you would stay within that resort the entire time and never leave. Which doesn't make sense at Disney, but that's how they kind of did it. They have a lot of pools. They have playgrounds. I've stayed at Saratoga twice. It's beautiful. The horse theme is throughout the entire resort. Kids would actually love it here. It's just because it's bus transportation only with these 2 resorts, plus an internal bus loop. I don't want to deal with a double stroller on the buses by myself at either one of these.
So it's based off like the Saratoga racetrack?
Yes.
Can you actually bet on the ponies?
No, but they do show videos of it, and they have a statue of one of the horses there. They have like a winner's circle.
Interesting.
It's probably one of my favorite resorts. It's beautiful. I'm just waiting until either the kids are older or it's I have like a reason to stay, like not a really short trip where I want to stay like within walking distance of Epcot.
I see. Now, isn't there like a military hotel option?
Yes. So Shades of Green is the military hotel there. I have stayed there. I love it. It's subtle. There's a great pool. They have really, really good restaurants that are reasonably priced, especially when you're on Disney property. The bus situation isn't great. There used to be a walking trail to the Polynesian, but it's been closed indefinitely because of construction. I hope it reopens because it was so easy to be able to just walk over to the Polynesian and use the monorail. But right now it's just buses, and they're not Disney buses. They're different. You get picked up in a different spot. They're not as frequent. So it's kind of why I haven't stayed there recently. And it's also based on rank. So higher the rank, the more you pay. And at my rank now, we're paying about as much as we would pay at a moderate anyways. So I'm not really saving money anymore by staying there. I may be paying a little bit more, but I have to just, what am I paying more for? Is it worth it?
Right.
So rather I walk to Epcot, yeah.
Yeah.
It does have a small shopette, which is tax-free, which is nice. So buying groceries is actually help. Like, we're talking very simple groceries here, but you can do that. It is treated as a deluxe, so it gets all the perks of the deluxe with those extra magic hours, and any other perks that deluxe gets. It has it. And the rooms are huge. These are the largest rooms you'll ever find on property. They're massive. So that is a big perk if you have just older kids and need more space and are in the military. I do recommend staying at Shades of Green. And then there's 2 other hotels that are treated kind of like Shades of Green, and that's the Swan and Dolphin and Swan Reserve. They're Marriott hotels, actually. They're technically off property. They're not run by Disney. They're run by Marriott. They're treated like deluxe hotels. They are those ugly monstrosities that are pink and green with they look like dead fish on top of them. I think they're supposed to be carp. And then swans as well. They're usually priced in the 300s, but there is a resort fee that goes on that. So you have to be careful. If you're staying for a short stay, I don't think it makes sense. But a longer stay, especially if you're adults, it may make sense. But they also have really, really good pools. These are right next to Boardwalk and Yacht Club. So you have the same access to Hollywood Studios and Epcot with the boats, walking, and Skyliner and all of the restaurants that are in that area.
So do Marriott reward points count towards that?
Yes. So you could use Marriott reward points to stay there. Get all the perks of whatever Marriott rewards you have. You could use them, yes.
That's nice. Now, after hearing all this, I certainly have analysis paralysis. So how do you even go about booking a room?
You can go through the Disney website or call. If you want to price out for any kind of military discount, you're going to need a call. They don't have those on the website, but you can go onto the Disney website, look at the resorts. You can play around with whatever deals that are available, possibly for the time frame if it's close enough. If not, you can just see the rooms that are available and the prices they have. For DVC resorts specifically, if you want to check a third-party website like DVC Rental Shop or David's DVC Rental, I've used both of them. You can go there, you can check the availability of what DVC rooms are available. You have to be careful because sometimes they don't have people with the points to rent to you. I ask anyways, and hopefully I get a yes. Sometimes I do, once or twice I haven't, which is sad, but it's worked out. The biggest thing with the DVC rental versus Disney is you have to pay for the entire room up front, and there's usually no cancellation. So you're paying for that entire room when you book it. Where with Disney, if you go through them, you'd only have to pay a $200 deposit and can cancel. That is one of the disadvantages that some people find renting the DVC points. So when you do it, you have to know you're going. And I'll talk more about that process on another episode. The other way you can do it is you can rent points straight from a person. So if you have a friend, maybe, or there are several Facebook groups, you have to be aware of scams. So if it's a lot of money, I prefer the security of the sites, even though it's going to be a little bit more. But I have done it this way once. It was the only way I could afford to stay at the Polynesian because I was able to get the price per point down low enough that it was in the price range I was willing to pay. I don't think I told you that.
Yeah, I don't recall that.
It worked out. We stayed in the Polynesian. It was great.
Great. What about any deals you can find?
Okay, so we've sort of been talking about deals too throughout this, and I mentioned on the last episode, but I really just wanted a quick hit again now. So Jesse just mentioned we're in April right now. They have released deals through October. Not all the deals for the fall have been released, so they're going to continue to release them on a rolling basis. If you see a room and there's no discount to it and you are pretty far out, don't freak out. Chances are there's going to be some kind of discount that comes out eventually. New ones drop all the time. You just have to kind of keep an eye out, and you can retroactively apply them to your reservation. So you don't have to wait to reserve your room. And if you get one deal and then a better one comes along, you can go with that better one. They allow you to do that, which is really actually kind of flexible and kind of nice. And you only need the $200 to put the deposit down. And it's fully refundable. This is where a travel agent can be helpful because they're going to look out for those deals for you. So if you want to use one, that is one that is one perk of doing it because they're going to be able to say, no, this is a better deal. Let's go with it. And then also maybe your room doesn't get the discount for whatever reason. It's a blackout area. You can then see what other deals are out there and you can switch your room easily. You don't have to do anything different. You just say, hey, you call up Disney and you just say, hey, I want to change my reservation for this hotel and this type of room. And that's easy as that. There's no other big hassles you have to jump through to do that. Disney Plus and military usually have something available. So if you're a Disney Plus member, there are discounts available to you through that. And then military always releases all of their discounts all at once a year. It's usually in November for the following year. So you just have to know and you have to call for those.
All right. This has been a very enlightening conversation. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Enlightening how?
I'm enlightened.
I knew I shouldn't have had you on this. I didn't need you to know how much these rooms were. So as I said, we talked about when to go and how long you want to stay and now where to stay. These are your first 3 big decisions that you have to make. That probably need to happen months in advance. So the farther out you can plan, the better, because the more likelihood of certain rooms being available or the hotel you would like would be available. It doesn't mean you can't plan a trip within 2 months. You can definitely do that or last minute, but you just may not be able to stay exactly where you want, or the deal might not be there for that room anymore because it might have sold out. But this is the biggest decision, where to stay, because that's going to drive everything else that you're going to do from here until you actually take the trip. So dining, lightning lanes, any other extras that can be decided on, you can do all of that when you're much closer to the trip. And once you know where you're staying, that can help determine where you're going to eat, what parks are you going to do, and everything else. So really, once you first decide the hotel, then you can think about the rest. So next time we'll talk about the 4 different parks, park tickets, and the different types of parties that are available as we keep going through how to plan a Disney trip.
Prepared to be even more enlightened.
I don't know. I think I might fire you.
Thank you.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Don't you like spending quality time with me?
Absolutely.
You love me.
I do.
All right, go watch football.
Thank you.
All right. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Designed for Adventure.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following the show and leave a quick review. It really helps more families find us.
You can also find us on Instagram at Designed for Adventure Pod and Facebook at Designed for Adventure.
Until next time, don't be afraid to get out there and have an adventure.